It's time for the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Each week, Trading Stocks Made Easy demystifies stock trading and investing so you can profit big. And now, here's the host of Trading Stocks Made Easy, the wealthy investor, Tyrone Jackson.
Hey, everybody. Tyrone Jackson, the wealthy investor. Thank you for joining for another episode of Trading Stocks Made Easy. How are you? Hey, this is a principle I haven't talked about in a while here. And how do you make a lot of money as an investor? Very often I wind up talking to you about trades, jumping in and out of stocks. If you're new to the stock market, you're still learning about trading. Tough environment today because the Fed is still raising interest rates. So we're seeing a lot of volatility in the market right now. What does that mean? One day you'll wake up and the stock market will be up 900 points. And then 2 days later, it'll be down 200 points. If you average all of that movement out, we're actually in a range-bound market at the time of recording for this show. When we're in a range-bound market, one of the things you want to keep a sharp eye out on are your long-term holds, stocks you think will be higher 5 years from now. Why? Many of those stocks, which are leaders in their field, by the way, have come down radically. That means it's actually a buying opportunity. So I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of the secrets that long-term investors use to make a lot of money in a 2 to 5 year market. Now, you've heard me talk about Warren Buffett on this show, and a lot of people talk about Warren Buffett as being the best investor ever to hit the stock market. Now, I kind of disagree with them because I think there are a lot of people who are actually a lot richer than Warren Buffett. Well, maybe not a lot richer, but have done very well for themselves. They're just not in the limelight. So we live in a society right now where everybody says, who's the greatest of all time? Well, some of the people who are the greatest of all time at anything are not famous. They just sit home, make millions, and enjoy their life. Okay? So Warren Buffett is very popular. He's very successful, and his strategies have worked for a long period of time. That's why we have all these books written on the Buffett way. Now, here's what we do know about the Buffett way. Warren Buffett is the kind of investor who's very, very patient. He's willing to wait 2, 5, even 10 years after buying shares and letting the price go up. Now, we're in an instant coffee-made society, so nobody really wants to wait 2, 5, or 10 years to see their investments bloom, but the market really does work best when you take a longer-term time horizon to things. Now, people always say, well, Tyrone Jackson, you're the wealthy investor. How did you become such a great stock picker? And I always follow with shucks, I just kind of learned my way. But you know what I'm going to do with you today? I'm going to show you how I found my way in the stock market and actually earned the title of the wealthy investor. You ready? Here's the biggest secret. You have to be willing to be patient, and you're buying leaders in their field. Now, what does that mean? You see, the world of technology is changing everything, and every 6 months to a year, there's a new company born. But if you are trading, let's say, in the technology sector, and you just hold shares of companies that are leaders in their field, over time, those stock prices are the companies that have the prices that'll rise 100, 200, 300% in a 5 to 10 year period. Now, I learned this after 22 years of investing, and it still holds true today. So, for example, if we were to look at companies that were leaders in the software field, those companies that also have strong top-line revenue growth that are leaders, if we narrowed them down to 3 companies, there's a high likelihood that the leaders in their field will hold their leadership positions for a long time. Let's talk about Microsoft here for a second. You think about Microsoft and its Windows operating system. Well, that's how the company was launched, right? Off of Windows. Bill Gates had a vision of Microsoft's Windows operating system on every computer around the world. And he got pretty close to that. until he realized that if he was going to remain a leader in his field, he would have to diversify not only into operating systems, but things like gaming, other forms of software, and here's the key, acquisitions. So leaders in their field like Microsoft, ticker symbol MSFT, have helped lead the Dow Jones Industrial Average higher over the years, right? Why? Because they're still focused on Windows? No, they're focused on acquisitions. So to remain a leader in your field, you have to be buying smaller companies that are leaders in their fields. So that's why Microsoft stock has done so well over the last 20 to 25 years, not because they were always focused on operating systems. They got in the gaming business. And they bought gaming companies and other software companies that were developing gaming. So if you're a leader in your field and you have a broader time horizon and you have vision, you see other trends growing in the world that allow you to acquire companies that are specialists in their field. Okay, so I like Microsoft stock right now, not only because it's a member of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it performs very well over time, but they're always looking to dominate in a sector that was far beyond what their original intentions are. Now, let's talk about Microsoft here for a moment. And I'm not telling you have to go out and buy the stock right now. I'm just sharing with you what I like and why I think their leadership position, at least for the next decade, they'll stay ahead of the pack. Well, if you've been keeping track of the Microsoft story, here's the other thing that you know. Microsoft is the leader in what? Cloud services. So all of this activity that we're engaged in online is backed up by the cloud. Most data of the big companies are backed up in cloud company services that provide security, access to data, intelligent learning, and a series of other software security measures that keep their content, information, and data safe. And one of the leaders in that field is, of course, Microsoft. Why? Microsoft's leadership, no longer led by Bill Gates, by the way, are focused on dominating in a number of dominant areas so they can keep that top-line revenue growth going and maintain a leadership position. Now, Microsoft, even though they're focused on the future, guess what? They're not always right. Do you remember the Microsoft partnership with CNBC when they started their own cable network? Actually, they partnered with NBC to create MSNBC, which was a partnership between Microsoft and NBC. When they sought to get into the broadcast world, did it go well? Well, not exactly, right? So even though some of these companies have great leadership, they're not always right. And I can tell you as someone who owns multiple businesses, that's one of the things I love about being an entrepreneur is that, well, sometimes I come up with a great idea and I'm going to take this business in this direction and it fails miserably. I used to feel terrible about that, but I realize now that's just the price that you pay when you want to expand your wings. Now, they do the same thing in a publicly traded company. Sometimes they go off into an area that leads them to little to no success, but we never remember them for that. We remember these great companies for what? Their successful ventures. So Microsoft, not only in the software business, not only dominant worldwide in the gaming business, but also in cloud services. Now, what they're doing these days with their suite of software services is they bundle them together and they now charge us as consumers for updates to the software packages. So if you own Microsoft Word, you probably own all of the suite of Microsoft software that's in that package, including PowerPoint, et cetera, and then they bill our credit cards so that when they, quote unquote, release an update, it automatically happens on to our computers. So software companies, you no longer are using a floppy disk. Oh my God, I sound so old. You're no longer using a floppy disk to get the software into your computer. You now download it over high-speed internet. Well, as it turns out, Microsoft is not the only dominant player that's diversifying and sure to maintain the leadership in their field. There's another company that you for sure need to know about. Why? Right now, their stock is cheap and it's on sale. And I'll tell you what that company is right after this break.
Want to increase your stock market trading profits? Then you need to start your monthly membership to WITradeschool.com right now. Don't understand how to write covered calls for monthly income? No problem. Simply review Tyrone's latest stock trades in our video library as many times as you need. WITradeschool.com is all about helping you get the financial education you need to earn money in the stock market and change your financial life. Tyrone Jackson, the wealthy investor, has helped his students earn thousands of dollars per month trading stocks online from home. These are people just like you. So what are you waiting for? Follow Tyrone Jackson's red-hot stock trades and investment strategies today. Don't wait. Start your monthly membership at WITradeschool.com right now.
Hey, it's Tyrone Jackson, Wealthy Investor again, and I just wanted to remind you that if you enjoy listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast, be sure to share it with your friends all across social media, including Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you enjoy hearing about success principles that inspire you, as well as interviews with some of my most successful students, I want to remind you it's right here at the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast, wherever you get your podcast. And make sure you download as much free material as you want at thewealthyinvestor.net. I'll see you there. And welcome back. Hey, in this episode of Trading Stocks Made Easy, I'm talking about making good long-term investments with stocks that are what? Leaders in their field. What makes them leaders? Well, they dominate in one area, but they have an eye for the future and they are well diversified. So what's the next company on the list? Ticker symbol AMZN. You know it as Amazon.com. Now think about this with me. Amazon was really known for selling books online. Do you remember that? The founder, Jeff Bezos, said, hey, we're going to be the dominant outlet for books online. Somewhere along the line, they realized that if they diversified and they weren't just selling books online, but they were selling other items in the retail space, their sales could double, triple, quadruple, or go up even 1,000%. Now, today, Amazon, along with Amazon Prime, is the place where most consumers around the world check for any item, not just books. I don't know if you realize this or not, but Amazon is basically Walmart to the world, right? One of the things they discovered that their clients wanted more than anything else was fast delivery. You see, Amazon figured out how to compete in a world where you didn't have to go to the supermarket or go to an outlet store. If you were willing to wait 24 to 48 hours to have that item delivered, it would be delivered at a discount. So although Walmart really developed discount retailing, Amazon said, we'll develop discount e-tailing, right? So if you have 48 hours or less, that item would be delivered to your home. Therefore, we'll beat Walmart at their own game. Sometimes innovation doesn't require that you think up a whole new thing, just an easier and faster way to get that thing to the consumer. And that's what Amazon has done extremely well. When they realized that people were buying entertainment online and that entertainment would soon be digitized, rather than trying to launch a streaming service like Netflix or Hulu, they would just include it in a membership fee. And that's how you got Amazon Video, right? So the thing I do like about Amazon on the entertainment side of things, they're really not trying to blow up the entertainment business, just carve out a little piece of what they call market share. Now, when Amazon purchased Whole Foods, remember that? Right. It seemed to the world that they were going backwards because all of a sudden they were a virtual e-tailer suddenly going into real world retail. How is Whole Foods doing for Amazon? Well, if you read the last earnings report, they almost never mention Whole Foods. Amazon is a company that really likes to celebrate its wins. Now, from what I can see, is Whole Foods was a nice acquisition, but it's not a big win. So therefore, they don't talk about it very much. Now, I was in New York not too long ago, and I was looking for some fresh groceries because I was staying at a hotel, and I was like, oh, why don't I just duck in here to this Whole Foods? And that's when I was reminded, wait a minute, they're owned by Amazon. But you really don't see too much of that mentioned in the media. Why? Because Amazon, if they had to put it in layman's terms, they'd be like, well, yeah, we bought that company and, it's doing all right. But it's not a big win. Amazon had a big win not in retail, but in what? Cloud services. So when you look at a lot of these streaming services, guess who's hosting the streaming services on servers worldwide? Well, it's only going to be one of two entities, Amazon or Microsoft. So when Amazon and Microsoft discovered simultaneously the benefit of being dominant in cloud services and leaving the competition behind, they knew they would get government contracts all around the world, all of the major entertainment contracts, and nobody talks about that. Nobody tells you who's really hosting Netflix servers, but I have a guess as to which companies probably run the back end of Netflix. Can you guess? Right. So you have to remember in Silicon Valley, all of the big companies are all frenemies. What do I mean by that? They're all competitors until they realize, I need your services. We're both in the Dow and the S&P 500. If my customers buy from me, then I can pay you. So birds of a feather always stick together in terms of the tech game. So we know Amazon will probably be a leader in the next 10 years in cloud services, so will Microsoft. So let me ask you, when it comes to delivering packages to customers, who are the leaders? Who does that best? What brand names do that the best? Well, I won't tell you in this particular episode, but if you start searching and thinking about that and you look up their stocks, guess what'll happen? You'll get in the habit of picking winning stocks over and over and over. Now, not only are we looking for companies that are leaders in their field, that's where that financial education comes in because you have to learn how to research their quarterly top-line revenue numbers, their annual top-line revenue numbers, shareholder interest, as well as the size of the float and who pays a dividend. See, all of those elements factor into picking a good stock. As I like to say in the Wealthy Investor Program, picking good dates. And the reason I refer to these stocks as dates is because some of the companies that are leaders today will be left behind by some of the innovators of tomorrow. So I'll leave you with this thought on how to pick leaders. Right now, there's a guy or girl in the United States figuring out how to deliver things faster on the internet. Right now, there's a guy or girl working really hard without being paid who's going to be the next billionaire figuring out how to deliver a product or service online that we will all be using in 10 years. Who are they? Well, I hope to have them on the show within the next 10 years, but they're billionaires waiting to be made. Now, that's not my job. My job is to pick the companies and invest in them once they become publicly traded. And when I find out who the winners are, guess who I'm going to run to and tell the story? That would be you, my friend. Yes, you. That's why I thank you for listening to this show each and every week, because it's all about getting that financial education and a perspective that allows you to expand your financial life and develop a millionaire's mindset. So in this episode, not only we talk about a millionaire's mindset, but a millionaire's outlook. See, we just have to pick the winners once the companies become publicly traded, and we do that by following their innovation and their revenue. Hey, this is Tyrone Jackson of The Wealthy Investor. So many of you stop me in public and go, I love your podcast. I love you back. And I thank you for joining me each and every week right here on Trading Stocks Made Easy. Now, if this show helps you, inspires, and informs you, why don't you give me a shout out on social media? You never know who you're helping by spreading good news. I'll see you next week right here on Trading Stocks Made Easy.
You've been listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Be sure to rate and review our show on iTunes. While you're on iTunes, be sure to click the subscribe button and you'll automatically receive our next episode.